in, you know, perfect timing by Gavin Newsom, after the fact, title of this episode is Too Little Too Late, he issued an executive order about wildfire prevention. Now, I was reading this, and I don't know if you have sort of the same feeling that I do. I'm not really sure this does anything. Like, I was confused about what this really does. And I mean, I've got the article in front of me. I feel like I've read it 3 times. I'm like, I'm not really sure what this is supposed to do to fix
Yes,
or to help wildfire prevention. I don't know.
right.
Did you get that sense too of
I
like, I
did,
don't know what
and
this
I'm sure
does?
you're gonna go through parts of the article, but I think it was even the article actually, they summed it up at the end where they were like, "It's all talk and no action," which is
Hmm.
like, that's why we're calling it Too Little Too Late, because it's just a bunch of another, like, word salad, throw out some things that sound okay if you don't think about it. You just, like, nod your head and you're like, "Sure, sounds good," but then you're like,
Hmm.
"Wait a second." It's all just random meaningless. So, I'll let you get into it.
Yeah. This is an article from the California Globe going through it. It's titled "Let's Unpack Governor Newsom's New Executive Order to Harden Homes Against Wildfire." Following his DC visit with President Donald Trump last week, Governor Gavin Newsom issued a new executive order Thursday aimed at hardening homes located in areas with high wildfire risk by implementing extreme new regulations, including not allowing most flammable things allowed within 5 feet of buildings in such areas. Side note, not really related to what we're talking about. The meeting was supposed to be a half an hour. It went for an hour and a half. Gavin Newsom came back and said he was going to sign the bill regarding legal aid for illegal migrants or illegal immigrants, but something about like he caved on one issue. I can't remember what it was. Oh, as long as they're not protecting violent criminals. So he kind of caved on that one issue, and I feel like Trump probably bent his ear a little bit and was like I'll help you out with all federal aid, but you got to send the violent criminal illegal immigrants back to their country, and you can't block it. So, anyway, article goes on to say the devastation of Pacific Palisades and Altadena aren't new lessons, Governor Gavin Newsom said as he signed a suite of new orders Thursday hardening homes located in areas with high wildfire risk. The article goes on to say Governor Newsom is adding regulations onto home building as well as local requirements. Current state and local environmental regulations to prevent controlled burns are what contribute to the Pacific Palisades, Altadena, and part of Los Angeles burning down, and the previous fires in recent years. Newsom claims the state has more than doubled investments in wildfire prevention and landscape resilience efforts, providing more than 2.5 billion in wildfire resilience since 2020, with an additional 1.5 billion from the 2024 climate bond to be committed beginning this year for proactive projects that protect communities from wildfire and promote healthy natural landscapes. Of note, Newsom says since 2021, the state has made strategic investments in at least 61 fuels reduction projects near the Palisades and Eaton fire perimeters through projects treated over 14,500 acres. Newsom also says his administration has invested $2 billion to support CAL FIRE operations, a 47% increase since 2018, which has helped build CAL FIRE from 5,829 positions to 10,741 in the same period. And the administration is now implementing shorter work weeks for state firefighters. Um, all right. So, as far as I get from it, it doesn't go into whether they're going to do more forest management. It has nothing to do with whether they're going to clean up underbrush. It has nothing to do with whether they're going to do um, anything about water. So basically, he's created these zones that are now high risk. He's put more neighborhoods in these high risk zones for fire, and he's also required that certain building materials in those zones cannot be flammable within 5. So it's not doing much to change. It's not going to help right now. There's some things like this executive order right now is not going to do anything to save the Palisades or Los Angeles. And I'm not sure it's really going to do anything in general. Like he just created more zones. which to me, if you're creating more high risk zones, we already have an insurance problem in California. So if you've now
We do.
put more neighborhoods in these higher risk zones that now have to abide by these new executive order regulations, they're the insurance company is going to go look at those and be like, "Oh, you're in a high risk area. We're going to have to double your insurance premium. Sorry." Thank Gavin Newsom. So, what are your thoughts?
Right, which I think the article goes into that, or at least another one does, where and I'm trying to I don't understand this executive order, and I'm not going to pretend like I understand fire management either. Um,
Hmm.
so so I just apologize as if I like just ramble on about things that I really don't know what I'm talking about right now, but I am confused about this because I couldn't figure out if this is expands through all of California or just these areas that were just hit. And when it comes to rebuilding, I was confused about that. But yeah, I'm looking at that going, okay, if we're like upping the risk factor in these areas, putting them into an even higher zone, then yes, that's going to be insurance increase. And insurance companies are already leaving and dropping people. That's been even like a big thing where I live, on our local Facebook group for the last year. So people have been talking about their insurance has dropped them for X, Y, and Z. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'm having like allergy issues. I live in an older area, in an established city that has a lot of vegetation. And I know people are constantly being so where the area that I live in, I'm very close to what was 90-ish years ago, a huge avocado farm and citrus farms.
Hmm.
And a lot of people still have avocado trees to this day, like where homes now have been built on what was the avocado farm. And they have these avocado trees that are getting up there in age. They're 80, 90 years old. And basically a lot of people are being told you need to remove your orange trees and your avocado trees and you have to, within 30 days or whatever, or we're dropping your insurance. Just random stuff like that. And if insurance companies are saying these are fire risk issues, then California should be thinking about all that vegetation that we keep talking about that we want them to manage. If an insurance company isn't going to insure a home over vegetation on their property, then that means that the vegetation on the land out there where there's actually land that's not, someone's personal house property, their residential property, then there's fire risks there, extreme fire risks. Like, so why are we pretending like managing those areas isn't important? Surely, if they're going to drop my insurance because of my 80-year-old avocado tree, then the reservoir that's full of dead vegetation and dry, just like two houses from me, must be an incredible fire risk, right?
Hmm.
So, why is this not the priority?
Yeah, I found the part that you were talking about in the article about how designating more areas as wildfire risk areas or higher wildfire risk areas. They're going to receive, Californians expect they receive in the mail either drastic fire insurance premium increases or fire insurance cancellations. And then, as we've already brought up, the MIA insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, who you can't get a hold of, has done none of it or nothing to help poor Californians who are stuck like with these fly by night, like online home insurance that will accept them. And then as soon as something like this happens, they're going to run for the hills. And then you're forced into California's fair insurance program, which is not the best option. I wouldn't trust any insurance that's backed by the state, especially California. So
Right.
um, it's one of those things where it's just like they just don't see like the implications of their actions, which is so short-sighted. And it's not surprising for Gavin Newsom to sign something like this because it's quite literally like it's all fluff. It is all just posturing. It's all like he's saying all these things like about urban firestorms and climate change and the drier temperatures and this, that, and the other thing, but it's all fluff and like none of it addresses really what the issue is
Right.
about clearing out tree. Like it doesn't really get to the point. And it's not like he's listened to anybody on the ground in Los Angeles to be like, hey, here's what you can do as governor to fix a lot of these issues. Like you have immense power in California because there are so many executive agencies. that with the stroke of a pen, you can order a lot of these agencies to do certain things. And he missed the mark on this one, that's for sure. Like, just because he put this 5 foot buffer zone, ember resistant zone, and he named more places wild, it's like, cool, thanks, man. Thanks for letting us know there's more areas that are wildfire risk or higher risk. Why are we not doing anything to address why they're high wildfire risk, and not going like, maybe we should address that so it's not a high wildfire risk? Um, so it's not surprising for Gavin Newsom in terms of his political career. And none of this will do anything. I don't think anything will. It will add more regulations, and more people will probably get dropped from insurance because of it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care. It's just, it's at this point, it'll just be something he can say he did, and that he put it, like, it's just another thing he can tout and wave at people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really get to the root issue, and he hasn't solved the problem, which is kind of, at this point, we're almost halfway through
Expected.
his second term. That's Gavin Newsom. We've just come to accept that this is Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's very good at the preening and the posturing for the cameras, and he knows when there's a political opportunity, and he knows what to say. But when it comes to really getting stuff done, he never gets anything done in terms of what really needs to get done. By the way, I wonder how that whole jobs thing was going that he was supposed to be touting to red counties. I wonder if he's
Oh, geez.
finished that up. Remember that whole
Regarding
binder? He had a whole binder of stuff.
Yes. Oh, yeah, that was supposed to come out last month. Yeah, remember we were like, "Well, why not now?" But
Yeah, what are
when
you
he
waiting for? You?
talked to like, "If you have it there, why not why are we waiting on it?"
Yeah.
But, no, back to the fire thing, though. Um, they pointed out, like, because I think part of this is they can't plant certain plants within 5 feet of their home, but it was, like, showing but all these trees it on their property actually did survive the fire.
Mhm.
So how is whether it's 20 feet, 5 feet, like, okay, what? But I don't think we know officially how this fire or all these fires started yet. I don't think that generally takes time. But regardless of how it started, whether literally somebody poured gasoline up and down the neighborhood and lit a match, or if it was just a spark or a car fire, who knows? Arson, I don't know. Whatever it
Mhm.
was, whatever caused this fire, that that doesn't change the fact that there was no water. The reservoir was empty. There was a bunch of the fire trucks were, I guess, not repaired and in working condition. They're just like sitting in the lot with they need some work done, and firefighter shortage,
Mhm.
and the fire hydrants not working. Whether it was because of gravity or climate change or electricity or no water, whatever, all those issues contributed to the fire being much, much worse than necessary. Those are the issues that need to be addressed here,
Mhm.
not certain building materials within 5 feet of the front, the back, the structure, whatever. That's like not the issue here. And so again, this just feels like, last year when there was oodles and oodles of reparations bills that were being presented to Newsom, and I think he only ended up signing a handful of them. And one of them was an apology letter. They were throwing out the idea of a statue, and I think that didn't actually make it. It was just like an apology letter, as if that's supposed to make everything better for anybody's families who were in slavery in America. And people were they want land, they want money, and Newsom was like, "Well, the best I can do for you is an apology letter." And this isn't even an apology letter. It's just like, "Well, I'll just sign an executive order that does nothing, and we'll call it a day. And my hands are washed of this. Carry
Yep.
on."
Now it's back to the local agencies to do it. I did receive a tip. I don't know if this is true or not, but I did receive a tip that as of probably next week, Kristen Crowley, the fire chief, is going to be out in Los Angeles.
I did hear that.
So that a little bird told me that one. I don't know. That's what some people are. Source told me from the inside that she might be out by next week. So if
But is
she's
this
not,
even her fault?
I don't. It's not really her
It's just
fault. I think we've done enough. We showed that video about how dilapidated and poor condition a lot of the fire stations are. Like, it's clear they keep saying like, oh, they spent more money or whatever, how they want to justify their magic numbers or whatever. But the proof is in the pudding. Like, you just look at these fire stations that are falling apart and have black mold in them, and you go, okay, you're not taking care of Los Angeles firefighters. Like, that's very evident. You don't care about the people on the front line. So
which is maybe why there's a shortage. Or
probably why there's a
we
shortage.
on one of our reels on Instagram has gotten quite a lot of heat.
Hmm.
It's caught a lot of smoke, and people have all their opinions. Some are they say, I was a firefighter, or I worked in this sector, or I did this, and here's the issue. But we have heard over and over again that they're not hiring more firefighters, and thus these firefighters, they work crazy overtime, and then of course they get paid crazy overtime, but they're worked to the bone, and like you can
Hmm.
only work so long before you need rest. Anybody, regardless. And of course, actual firefighting is such a, I mean, that's a lot of like physical labor. They're not just like sitting at a desk reading reports or whatever. And so, yeah, your body eventually you have to sleep. You cannot
Yeah.
perform so well. And so if that's one of the issues, then yeah, we need to hire more firefighters, but also maybe we need less firefighters if we take care of the vegetation, which we keep talking about. Take care of this vegetation and like put the goats to work. Hire the freaking goats to eat the vegetation.
Yep. Goats are free. All you have to do is feed them. So it's a pretty cheap, pretty cheap salary for goats.